I hope you've seen Halloween Kills by now because I'm about to spoil it. How's it going, guys? As always, my name is Jimmy Champane, and if you like monsters, slashers, pretty much any movie shot during, set during, or inspired by the 1980s, this is the channel for you. And if that sounds good, make sure you subscribe and set your notifications to all. So in case you guys missed it, I posted my spoiler-free review of Halloween Kills right out of the theater on Tuesday night after the press screening, and my general thoughts on it at the time were I really liked it a lot. It met my expectations perfectly, but there were some things that disappointed me and some things that blew me away, and that's what kind of caused it all to just meet in the middle. It was a very enjoyable Halloween movie, but I just saw it again last night and I actually enjoyed it a whole lot more. And I've been thinking about it since last night, like, why did I enjoy it so much more the second time around? And really, I think what it comes down to is expectations. So going into this, I had a complete movie basically shot and edited in my head of what I thought Halloween Kills was going to be, between all the trailers, people spoiling the movie in my comments, covering the shooting of the movie, and just seeing all the different stuff that leaked out. It was really easy to piece together what I thought was going to happen, and then the actual final product was different. So then on the second watch, I was like, oh, okay, this is actually like really, really great. Hopefully by now you've seen the movie, so I don't really need to go into the plot, but man, they did a really good job making a middle chapter of a trilogy. We all knew going in that this was going to be the middle chapter of a trilogy. That wasn't a surprise at all, but we've seen so many of these middle chapters come out where we know another movie's coming and then they fall flat on their face. But Halloween Kills, on the other hand, actually does have a pretty good Halloween story. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying that they feel like it has no plot, there is no main character, all of these weird digs at it that I just don't understand, because to me, very clearly, Michael Myers is the main character of this movie, straight up. James Jude Courtney should be the one on the poster with his name huge because he carries this entire movie as Michael Myers. And for some people, probably huge Halloween fans like me, that's really going to work well, and other people who went into Halloween 2018 expecting something different, like maybe they weren't Halloween fans who were brought into the franchise by Halloween 2018 and how different it was, those people probably are going to be disappointed, I think, by Halloween Kills, because Halloween Kills is just one of the best Halloween sequels I think I've ever seen. Because whereas Halloween 2018 was solely focused on Laurie's story and her relationship with Karen and Allison, and it was more of like a relationship drama than a slasher movie, I can see why that would upset people who really like that Halloween Kills is just a straight up 80s slasher movie from start to finish. It's just all about Michael Myers and the kills. The story does just enough to give him a vehicle to go from point A to point B and murder some people in between. And the other thing I really wanted to address early on in this video is that in my other review, the first thing I really complained about, and the biggest thing I complained about, was the corny dialogue. But the second time around, a few lines still stood out to me, but overall, once I realized who these characters were and knowing who they were going in, it kind of fit their characters a lot more. The one character though, man, who just got done dirty in this movie with bad dialogue and just clunky dialogue is Laurie Strode. She has two of the worst lines in the movie. It's when she gets to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, and they both happen very close to each other. The first one is when she's trying to convince her mom that she's gonna go out and hunt down Michael with Lonnie, Tommy, Cameron, and everyone else. And she says, "I love Dad, and someone loved the people under those sheets," and that's like her motivation to go out and try and hunt Michael down. And just, I don't know, I don't think it was the delivery. I think it was definitely the way that line is written, because it's just so corny. And then she follows it up by wrapping up the bloody knife that Laurie brought in with her that they were carrying at the end of Halloween 2018, and she says, "This is for you whenever you need it." It was just so melodramatic. It felt very like corny 90s, early 2000s. I don't know, I didn't like that. It really just took me out of the movie. But then the other character who I thought was going to be like more annoying the second time around, but ended up not being annoying at all, was Tommy Doyle. So of course he does say "evil dies tonight" one too many times, right? Like, I will say that for sure. But this guy, the character himself, is actually pretty interesting. So obviously the movie starts out with him giving this speech at Mick's bar, right? He's saying, "All right, y'all are too young or too drunk to remember the Halloween night in 1978. Well, I'm going to remind you." Okay, so he's giving a speech about the biggest moment of his life, right? That's the biggest thing that's ever happened to him in this small town. It really made me think of the flashback, and when Hawkins and the other cop are just standing there and he says, Haddonfield, the town where nothing ever happens. It's like, oh, this is a small town. Obviously, Tommy is like famous in his mind for what happened to him on Halloween night when he was a kid, and he really wants people to remember it every Halloween because that's his claim to fame, right? He's the local legend who survived an attack from Michael Myers. I mean, we see it later in the movie with Lonnie, where Lindsay is saying, oh, when we were kids, Lonnie's the only one who was brave enough to go into the Myers house, and Lonnie's like, I lied. Michael Myers is the biggest thing that ever happened in this town, and even though it's really bad, they can't forget it. So that's why when Tommy finds out Michael breaks out and he's able to rile up this mob and get people excited, he's like high off of it. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be the local legend once again. I'm gonna make people remember Michael Myers and what he did, and I'm gonna be the one who goes out and kills him and hunts him down, and nothing's gonna stop me. And then throughout the movie, we see that fall apart in front of him, right? He causes that other inmate from Smith's Grove to die, which is insane. Like, that part is nuts. He riles people up thinking it's Michael, even though if you just stop to think for 2 seconds, he'd realize it wasn't Michael. The guy doesn't look anything like Michael Myers. He's short, he's stocky, he's not wearing a mask. Most of all, he's speaking. Obviously, Laurie can't see across the lobby of the hospital. She could have said earlier that that wasn't Michael, but by that point, even when Tommy realizes, it's too late and he causes someone else's death. The problem is there's just so many locations, so many characters to keep track of. We've got all these cameos, all these callbacks, flashbacks to the original. The first time I watched it, it's bouncing all over the place. It's a little hard to keep up, but then when you go in the second time and you know what's going to happen, you know who all the characters are, you know what cards are on the table at any given point, it's easier to pay attention and see where the story is going. So this is a very rare movie, right, where I'd recommend, if you didn't love it the first time, you just liked it and you came out a little bit like tonal whiplash, just how it moves all over the place, I'd recommend watching it again because it really improved my experience overall. Another area that I think really deserves praise that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about is the editing, because it's really good. The movie jumps all over the place from different locations of different characters, like I just mentioned, and they use some cool editing tricks to get you in the mood of one scene that you might not have had in the other. One example that really stood out to me when I saw it the second time is when Laurie's waking up for her surgery. She still thinks that Michael is dead, and then it cuts to Tommy slamming on Lonnie's hood. It jolts you back in, and it's like, oh no, Michael Myers is still out there, and we gotta go hunt him down. We gotta get back with these characters. So it was cool to see the energy flip like that thanks to some editing. And there's a couple other scenes I noticed where they did cool transitions, like with doors locking and other things like that. I just thought it was worth pointing out because my old day job used to be being an editor, so I feel like I gotta give some props when I see good editing. I don't think I'm gonna shock any of you guys when I say that the fan service in this movie is just bordering on over the top. Depending on how big of a Halloween fan you are, it's either gonna be stuff that makes you cringe, it's either gonna go right over your head, or you're gonna think it's just towing the line of being over the top, but really just right. And that's kind of how I felt, because this is really the first Halloween sequel to have all of these characters back together. I mean, even Loomis is here, so everyone's kind of got to get a moment in this movie, and it's briskly paced, so a lot of the fan service moments are really quick, which I think works in the movie's favor. Like, obviously when Nancy Loomis is sitting in the car, you've got Michael Myers' hand slapping the window, just like he did in the original Halloween. That, in my opinion, is good fan service. The one moment where it's like, if anyone else was doing it, I think it would come off cringy, but just because it's so iconic, I really liked it, is when Brackett at the end has a wide shot where he's very clearly the focus, and he says his famous line, everyone's entitled to one good scare, it's Halloween night. You know what the line is. A lot of people I see complaining about that, but me personally, I thought that was really cool. It's towards the end of the movie. It's such a quick line again. It just was cool to see him back in the Halloween franchise, because as far as I'm aware, just off the top of my head, I don't think he's ever come back after Halloween 2, because by Halloween 4, they say that he's retired and moved on. Speaking of Brackett though, there is one moment that I guess could be considered fan service that I'm 50-50 on, and that's when he's talking about the Halloween night in 1978 when he discovers Annie, and they use footage from Halloween 2. Now, me personally, I'm fine with that, because Halloween 2, even though they cut it from the timeline, the reason they cut it was because of all the weird story implications that come up, like Laurie being Michael's sister, and obviously they don't want to go in that direction. But having Annie on a stretcher, it doesn't really bother me. It's just like, it's weird, right? You cut out this movie from the timeline, but then you're going back and using footage from it. It's just a weird line to toe. I don't think it's good or bad. I just noticed it and it came off a little weird. And still staying in the realm of fan service, we have to talk about this flashback. I already mentioned it in my other review and how much I loved it, but I gotta put more respect on the name of this flashback. It was perfect. I will use that word that I don't think I've really ever used here on this channel, or if I have, I use it very sparingly. That flashback was perfect. It is extremely hard to do that right and make it feel like you're stepping back into the world of Halloween 1978, and that's exactly what they did. Building the Myers house out on a soundstage was the smartest thing they could possibly do, because that's the best way to make it look exactly like the original movie. The way they filmed it, that soft grain, the lighting, the blue hue, it was just all exactly how I remember it from watching Halloween 1978. Even the costumes of the cops fit perfectly into that world. I love the young Hawkins. I love that they fleshed out his lore, because that was a character I really liked in Halloween 2018, and I was honestly bummed when they killed him. I was like, man, why can't this guy live? So that's a retcon that I'm okay with. It's a little bit messy, but like, I'm not gonna knock them too hard for that, because seeing him in 1978, getting that backstory fleshed out, saving that moment for this movie, I also think was very smart, because if you've been watching my channel, you know this, but if you haven't been, basically this flashback was supposed to be like pretty much shot for shot exactly the same and put in Halloween 2018. That was going to be the beginning of Halloween 2018. John Carpenter told David Gordon Green to save it. He was like, look, focus on getting your movie right, don't overcomplicate it, and if you guys come back for a sequel, that's when you can start thinking about messing with the ending of the old movie and changing things with a flashback. And that's exactly what they did, and I think it paid off. And also, guys, gotta talk about Loomis. So I had a lot of comments asking me if Loomis was CGI, because in my review I said I don't know what this is, but it looked flawless. Like, it looked like Donald Pleasance was standing at the bottom of that staircase yelling up into the camera. It tricked me, and I'm a person who's very critical of practical and CGI effects. I don't like when they're done shoddily. I don't like when they're done just for shock value or fan service. They did this right and respectfully. So I was talking to Christopher Nelson on Instagram after the movie came out, just telling him how good of a job I think he did, and he let me know that Loomis is a 12-piece makeup prosthetic that they put on a look-alike actor, and then obviously they dubbed over with the lines for Loomis. And I think, like, they gotta win an Oscar for this, dude. Like, that is insane how good it looks. And yesterday, the first time I saw it, it was on a normal theater screen and it looked pretty good. But yesterday when I saw it, it was on a Dolby theater in Burbank. It is massive, and I was like scrutinizing. I was pixel peeping hardcore to see if I could see any makeup lines, any errors on that face, and I couldn't. It was incredible. It literally made me tear up. I was like, holy shit. Especially when, if you look at the people who are criticizing Halloween Kills, the one thing they say, they're like, I loved the flashback, but, and that flashback seems to be unanimously loved. Awesome. And since this is a spoiler review, I feel okay talking about the kills, which were all just like so good. I love the kills in Halloween. You guys know that's my thing. I love just watching Michael Myers kill people. Something is clearly wrong with me, but that's what I like in my horror movies. So there were a lot that stood out to me from the very beginning. So the kill in the Myers house was great. I love that the cop who Michael's choking out on the wall actually gets a few punches in on him, and they felt weighty. I feel like that's the audio mixing John Carpenter was tinkering with, just coming through in a cool way. That looked great. It looked so good seeing Michael in that original costume. The mask was flawless. It just looked like Michael from Halloween 1978 choking a guy out, and then the guy getting shot in the neck was great. It was a good use of humor, right? Like, to me, that was funny. It was like Hawkins is so out of his depth, like all the cops of this town have no idea what they're doing, that he ends up shooting his partner in the neck out of sheer fear and desperation. That was awesome. Obviously, I'm gonna give praise to that firefighter kill moment. That is the coolest Michael has ever looked in this Halloween 2018 timeline, when he just comes up on the porch and slams down the Halligan tool in his hand. That is just badass. And just watching Michael waiting for that moment where he says, go, you're all gonna die, it was like, it gave me goosebumps. I already said it. It's just like incredible watching him use that Halligan tool, watching him turn the saw on that guy. It was just, you can't do it better than that with the backdrop of a fire. Oh my God. That's a scene that I'm going to look up on YouTube when I'm in bed at like 3 a.m. and I can't sleep. I'm going to be like, man, I'm going to look up that scene where Michael busts out of Laurie's burning house, because I just got to see some carnage right now. And of course, the scene with Lindsay's car at the park, where Lindsay goes to talk to the kids in the Halloween 3 costumes, and then Marion Chambers and the nurse and the doctor are left in the back seat, and Michael attacks the car. My theater, lit up, just crying laughing, just the loudest laughing I've heard in a long time in a packed theater of people who are there to see Halloween. When Michael slammed open the door and the nurse turned around the gun and shot herself, that was hilarious. And I know people don't like humor in these Halloween movies, but that's the humor that I'm fine with. It involves Michael murdering someone. It's not like commentary from Julian in 2018, where I thought that was funny at the time, but it's just different. When Michael is the one doing the funny thing, like I feel like Michael cracked a smile under that mask. And also the way Marion Chambers dies, I don't know, I just feel like she could have survived this movie, especially since she's already died in the Halloween universe. But it's such a quick moment and there's so many kills, it's hard to really get hung up on it. I'm sorry, I know it's like a legacy character getting killed off again, and I should be disappointed, but it's like everything else was so good and fun that I didn't really care after a couple seconds. And of course, it was awesome to have that Halloween 3 mask Easter egg again, those characters returning from Halloween 2018, just like the doctor and the nurse. I feel like we're at the point now where saying, actually, I love Halloween 3. It's a really good movie if you watch it as its own thing. That is no longer a niche, cool, like cinephile thing to say. I feel like it's just mainstream at this point. So it was cool to see it getting another Easter egg in Halloween Kills. But I think in Halloween Ends, we can leave out the Halloween 3 Easter eggs. And I just got to point this out. I'm sorry, I'm giving myself the one opportunity to talk about it. Last Halloween, I made a fan film with my friends called Happy Halloween, and Michael Myers murders a child in it in the very beginning. And people were either really into that idea because of the kid who's like a teenager who dies in 2018, or they went in the comments and lit me up saying that Michael Myers doesn't kill kids. But now we're gonna put that to bed. No one can comment that anymore because in Halloween Kills, Michael Myers kills a fucking kid. Now, leading up to this movie, just after seeing pictures from the set and the trailers and stuff like that, people assumed that Michael was also going to stop at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital on his way to the Myers house. And surprisingly, that didn't happen. And I'm kind of glad that didn't happen because that's obviously a big moment in Halloween 2. There is a huge sequence in Haddonfield Memorial in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 that goes on a little too long, if you ask me. I feel like we've been there, done that a few times, and it's poking the bear a little bit to bring Michael back to the hospital that he's in Halloween 2 when you're making your own Halloween 2. I don't know, it just would have not sat right with me. So I think that was a good spot to collect all these characters as like their locker room, right? You can always go back there and know that they're safe. That's where we get the exposition. That's where the story is advanced. Obviously, the way it plays out with the pacing is a little bit messy, but still, I think that was a really smart way to reintroduce Haddonfield Memorial. Like, a hospital is a great spot to have all this happen because Laurie doesn't have a house anymore. And I saved the biggest location of the movie for last. That's obviously the Myers house. We see it at the beginning of the movie. That's where Michael's apprehended. We see it towards the middle and the end of the movie in 2018 with the MVPs of Halloween Kills as cast, Big John and Little John. Now, I was worried that I was going to get shredded for liking them like I did with Julian. I've soured on Julian a little bit as the years have gone on. I see people's points, but I was really excited that everyone else seemed to really like Big John and Little John. It's just the perfect amount of humor, just the fact that the big one is Little John, the little guy is Big John. Their story where they scared the Halloween 3 kids was great. It got a little spooky. It had a few laughs. I liked the way that they had the Halloween decorations set up at the Myers house with the pitchfork on the porch. You knew that when they introduced that pitchfork, it was going to be used. That was great because a lot of horror movies introduce stuff like that, like a sick weapon that you want to see be used, and then it never gets addressed again. So I was glad that when I saw that pitchfork and I said, I hope someone uses that to stab someone in this movie, it is used to glorious effect in the ending as a standout moment for Karen Strode. So Big John and Little John helped out Karen when her daughter Allison needed it most. So that was great. And speaking of the Myers house and the whole lore around Michael, that was another aspect of the movie that was very vindicating as a huge Halloween 2018 fan, because I was beating the drum from day one. The first time I saw it, that I thought it was cool that they got rid of Halloween 2 to make it so that Michael doesn't care about Laurie, and they really stuck to that. People were saying, oh, it's like Laurie and Michael are connected. They've always got to be going towards each other. Michael's trying to kill Laurie. And I was like, no, Sartain is the one who put Michael on Laurie's path, right? Sartain put Laurie in between Michael, and now we know the Myers house, which is where he was going. That's the only reason they even encountered each other in the first place. Like, Laurie was feeling self-important, like Michael wanted to kill her, and he doesn't care. He wants to go to the Myers house on Halloween night and kill everyone in his path. And I loved that line where they were talking about how Michael looks out his sister's window because he's looking into the real world from the outside through that window, and he can see his reflection. Like, that's just so cool. That's a good way to flesh out the character that doesn't over-explain him, doesn't give him motivation, doesn't give him really any thought, but gives you just a bit more of what makes Michael Myers scary. That's really smart, really good writing, and just really good lore for the character that doesn't blow it out of proportion like all the other sequels did before. If you're gonna cut out the sequels, you gotta do the lore right, and and they did the lore right. I've covered all the big moments in the movie, so I think we got to talk about the ending now, because obviously there's two huge things that happen. The first one is that Karen Strode dies, and the second one is that Michael Myers is finally confirmed in this timeline to be supernatural. He is dead in the street. Karen stabs him and he does not even flinch, and then he awakens and murders the entire group of people who thought they had him killed. They have finally, without saying it directly, confirmed that Michael Myers is the essence of evil. He's not human, he cannot die. We knew that's kind of where it was going after he was shot multiple times, he lost fingers, he was in a burning house. He's had a lot of stuff happen to him, but he always gets back up and keeps killing in his pursuit of going home, and that is clearly what's going to continue in Halloween Ends, and I love that. He is the spirit of everything scary about Halloween now, and that's what Michael Myers is supposed to be. You're not supposed to understand him, you're supposed to fear him. And as one of the few members of the Karen Strode fan club coming out of 2018, I gotta say that seeing her die in this was a shock, and it also hurt. I liked her a lot. She was the big motivation for Laurie, and they had like all this relationship drama in the last movie. They did a good job kind of bringing her in as Laurie's daughter and the thing she wants to protect, and now they've killed her. But I think they needed to kill her, because coming off of Halloween 2018 and Kills, Laurie thinks she's succeeded, right? And then she learns the lesson in Halloween Kills that if you rile people up against this force and make it a big scary monster that everyone can be scared of, it's gonna make people turn on each other and they'll become monsters themselves. So she really needed a motivation going into Ends, right? She needs that motivation to get back out there and finally put Michael down once and for all, or die trying. That was what she wanted to do in Halloween 2018, and now in Halloween Ends, she's finally going to get the chance to do it, and she's going to have a damn good reason. And you know who else is going to have a damn good reason to go after Michael? Is Allison, because not only has Michael Myers killed Allison's dad, he's also now killed her mom, and he totally wrecks her boyfriend, man. He just fucks Cameron up. So Cameron gets it real bad in this movie. I'm glad they kept him alive because he was a good character. It was cool to see him interacting with Lonnie, and they made it hurt more that after the reconciliation that he has with Allison, that he still goes out like a bitch. So Michael throws him through the banister, I guess that's what you call it, the little fence at the top of the staircase, and then just repeatedly stabs him on the wood spike. And then when he realizes that it's really gonna fuck Allison up, he's walking down the stairs, he goes back up and just, you know, finishes the job, right? Like Cameron would have died. There's no way he would have survived that. He had like stakes in him. He was stabbed multiple times. He had his arm crushed by Michael's boot. He would have died there. But Michael knew how bad it was going to hurt Allison, who can't even walk at this point. So he walks back up the stairs and twists his head just to finish him off. That was brutal. That was Michael Myers, and I love that. But yeah, getting back on track, Allison finally has all of the pieces in place for her to really rise up and take down Michael with her grandma and feel like a badass and look like a badass doing it in Halloween Ends. I don't think she had that as much going into Kills. Obviously it sucks that her dad died, but she didn't have quite enough loss to really be angry, right? She came into it believing her grandma, but now she's got a reason to really join her and hunt Michael down together, and I think that's cool. I think if they stick the landing, it's gonna be great. And the whole sequence in the Myers house was excellent because Michael felt like the Michael from 1978. The way that he sets up Big John and Little John in front of the picture of them and puts that love song on the record player, that felt like the original Michael Myers to me. That felt really cool because it was like he was making a little Halloween display, a little trick, if you will, for Cameron and Allison as they reached the top of the stairs. He was making a little investigative path for them to follow, like he did for Laurie in Halloween 1978. And actually, I read an interview where David Gordon Green said he changed the ending, and coming out of the test screening, someone told me the last part of the ending. They like DM'd it to me and I saw it, and I think it's good that they took that part out. It's going to be on the Blu-ray, so if you guys want to see it, you're going to be able to see it. But what I think it is that Michael grabs Karen's phone out of her lifeless body and calls Laurie and breathes into the phone. But since they're setting up the timeline here that Michael truly doesn't care about Laurie, I guess that would feel a little too personal, so they cut it out, and I think that was the smart call. Keep Michael how he is, not caring about who he's killing, just wanting to kill on his way to the Myers house. But yeah, guys, I gotta say again, after 3 long years of waiting for this movie, having it built up in my head, knowing moments from it, seeing all the marketing multiple times times over a period of years. I don't think this movie really could have been much better. I really enjoyed it the first time, but the second time I walked out loving it. I said at the end of the last review, I didn't know where I was going to rank it, and I think I should do a full re-ranking video of the franchise because some of my other spots have moved around since I did that video last year, but right now where it's sitting is very close to the top. Honestly, I think it's my second favorite sequel, so in my third place spot, it would go Halloween 1978, Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills, followed by a few more that I won't spoil. This movie really is a good pairing with Halloween 2018 because it's different, it's fun, it makes Michael the main character, it feels like an 80s slasher in the realest sense possible, and while you're seeing all the action unfold, it's quietly moving pieces around in the background, which to me makes it an incredible sequel, and hopefully if they stick the landing and Halloween Ends, it will retroactively make this movie even better. We've seen this before with the best middle chapters of all time. Empire Strikes Back got terrible reviews when it came out, then when Return of the Jedi came out, people retroactively started loving the middle chapter. So I feel like they're setting themselves up for that opportunity here with Halloween Kills, and I don't know, I like David Gordon Green. I think he's going to do a great job, and I think he's going to stick the landing. I'm putting my opinion out there. I think this dude has earned the benefit of the doubt here to land this trilogy correctly. But yeah, guys, those are my spoiler-filled thoughts on Halloween Kills. I had so much fun talking about this movie. I know this probably went a lot longer than I was initially planning it to, so if you stuck around to the end, gotta once again give you a huge shout out. Thanks for watching my channel. Thanks for letting me talk about my favorite franchise of all time, and thanks for caring what I have to say about it. You are awesome. Please go ahead and let me know what you think of Halloween Kills down in the comments below. Let me know your favorite part. If it didn't work for you, let me know why it didn't work for you. Just remember the one single big rule on my channel: don't be a dick about it. If someone really liked it, don't go and tell them you hated it and that they're stupid or something like that. Just let people who enjoyed it, and especially if you enjoyed it, let the people who didn't like it have some time to come around, because I'm pretty confident they will. Anyway, guys, as always, my name is Jimmy Champane, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a happy Halloween and shape on.